那这次这个对呀，
My name is Stephen Piaspantino, and I'm one of the meeting facilitators. My colleague Joseph Gelati is also a meeting facilitator, and then the gentleman in the back of the room, Bohan Rabarsky, he's the gentleman that's kind enough to call all of you and email you and kind of the corresponding secretary. So these meetings are held the fourth Monday of every month at 6:30 here at the North Utica Community Center, which is 50 Riverside Drive. Everybody, all the residents of North Utica are welcome. It's open to the public. We generally discuss any civic issues that we're having, transportation. We generally have some of our local representatives in house, and they bring us up to date on some of the happenings down at town hall or with the county. So very productive meetings. It's great to stay in the know. Obviously, tonight we are hosting a Utica School Board candidate forum, and so that's the portion of the meeting that we're going to get to at 7 p.m. The first 20 minutes of the meeting are going to be our normal sequence of speakers and events. And so if you can just bear with me, we'll get through all of that. And then, of course, we'll have the candidates up to the front of the room. So Officer Sweet was kind enough to be here with us. He's from the Utica Police Department Community Outreach Division. They are kind enough to send a representative to all of our meetings. And he generally briefs us on some of the events that have happened in North Utica over the last month, things to watch out for, things to be aware of, cognizant of. So I'll give Officer Sweet the floor. Thank you.
In front of or behind the table?
Behind it. Yeah, right there. Perfect.
Very much.
Congrats.
Anyways, most of you know me, Officer Sweet UPD. We just come and give our basic update of what's been going on in the North Utica area. Not a lot, actually. There's 110 calls for service, but about 47 of those are premise checks. So we just check businesses and place of interest. So you're really only looking at about 63 calls for service. We know how much Walmart takes up of that as well. So very little to do up in the North Utica area. The biggest thing that stands out over the last week was there was one incident. We had a mental health incident where the person was under, a bit of crisis, and kind of led us on a little bit of a chase around North Utica. We ended up locating that subject and took him in custody as far as for all review, amongst some other charges. But nothing really standing out as far as crime trends go. Summer months are upon us. It's going to get busier, so just kind of be observant of what's in the area and around you. If you see anything standing out, please, don't hesitate to call us. And if you see anything, make sure you say something. Okay. That's about it. The only other thing I'll touch upon is the last time I attended this with the candidates, it got a little heated, a little out of control a little bit. So I implore you all to kind of use your judgment. For adults, majority of us adults here, I see some kids, but be respectful of others, of their points of views, of the candidates and of themselves, and just try to maintain a little bit of decorum here today. Okay, that's all we do. Any questions or anything for the police department before I have to make any point? Excellent, thank you.
So we typically have a local business highlight. This week, we are going to be skipping that in lieu of our candidate forum. But what you can expect from us on a normal monthly basis is we invite one of the local business owners from North Utica. They come in, talk a little bit about their business. And of course, we all want to shop local and support our friends and neighbors. So that's a great thing. So you can expect that in the upcoming months. What Officer Sweet mentioned was you saw the ground rules for the candidate forum when you all signed in. If anybody would like a copy of that, this kind of defines some of those ground rules, just so that we can have a productive forum and you can get all your questions answered to your satisfaction. So that's our goal tonight. Of course, these meetings are hosted by the North Utica Neighborhood Association, as I mentioned, and our key focus is to serve the people of North Utica as the other neighborhood associations serve their respective areas. So the focus tonight, of course, is to allow our residents to engage with our candidates. Before we get to that, I know our councilman for the 6th Ward, Mr. Beatrice, is on the agenda. He's just going to bring us up to speed on some things that are happening in City Hall. And then, of course, our representative from the county legislature, Mr. Tony Leone, is also with us. So, Mr. Beatrice, if you wouldn't mind coming out front, and then Tony, if you just want to piggyback when he's finished, that'd be great. Thank you. You'll get one. Thank you, Joe.
Good evening. Thanks a lot for having me. Thank everybody for coming out. It's great to see everybody here. I'll be brief because the main thing is the school board here tonight. So, what's going on basically in my area in the city is, we've been working to DPW. The green team is, you guys all noticed, been pretty cleaned in North Utica the last week or so. They picked up 16 bags of trash going down. When you come off the throughway area, that was all picked up. Mr. Gentile knows we worked over in the North Utica Little League, and his field, his team has done much more than we have. But for once, I've been working pretty close with Mike and letting me know any kind of needs they have, and we tried to take care of that. If you go through the North Utica Park, I was up there yesterday. Same thing, the working on the dog park, they're cleaned up all the pavilion, they're working on the fields over there, so we are being kind of proactive there. The one thing I would like to see in the future, and I kind of wish we did it already, and I think our biggest problem with litter throughout the area, especially this time of the year, is our open containers. And I know it's quite expensive, but I would like to see down the road us to get a concealed container for our recyclables, because unfortunately this type of year or whenever we put our recyclables out, the wind comes, everything's all over the place. It's more of a problem in the inner city than it is in North Utica, but that's something I'd like to see. Some things going on in the council. We had, I'm sure you all know, we voted down the complete streets portion of it. It was voted down. The ordinances were brought up, they were voted down. So and there'll be an argument on it. Technically, it was actually a 90-day trial. The mayor extended it. It was 180. Technically, the 180-day trial is over, and it should return to the 4 lanes. But I can't really comment on that. There's, different opinions on it. So that's yet to come. And I'm going to just speak for myself. The reason I've been against it from day one, it was brought in front of the council 15 minutes for a vote, 15 minutes before the council meeting the first time. This time it was brought an emergency meeting. I'm not totally against the complete streets. I'm actually for it. I just believe that it needs to be researched and it needs to be done at a time when the hospital's open. We have Nexus going. It's just not the time to do it. It wasn't the October before winter started. In my opinion, it needs to be done after these new properties are open. Let it run 6 months and let's do it the right way. Notify all the customers, the merchants, and have something like this, an open forum where people can get up and talk and see how they feel. But that's just my thought. And again, I'll be in the back of the room. I'm always here on the 4th Monday. I have my own office hours from 5:30 to 6:30, and then I'm here for the 6:30 meeting. And again, anybody who ever tries to get a hold of me, call me at any time, email me at any time, and I'll be sure to return your call. I'll be in the back of the room. I have cards. I know if you guys need anything, let me know. And thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for setting this up tonight. For the people that don't know me, my name is Tony Leon. I represent the 23rd Legislative District. Covered all of North Utica, except from Buchanan Road west to the city line, and I cover parts of East Utica. As far as the county right now, I've been appointed to a solar committee that the county chairman of the legislature had put together, and we're talking about solar issues in Oneida County. There's a lot of solar farms and arrays going up, And we're concerned about, none of us are against solar, we're actually for solar, but. I don't know if it's the answer to all our energy problems. And we're concerned about taking prime farmland and putting solar arrays on it. And then we're also concerned about what happens at the end of life with these solar panels. And is there gonna be a company, the same company, that's still gonna take care of the recycling of the solar panels? We just don't want them left in prime farmland. So we're just trying to cover all our bases with that, trying to look ahead. And that's what this committee is trying to do. I do have business cards here, so if anybody, I along with Joe Beatrice will be here every month on the fourth Monday of the month, an hour before the 6:30 meeting for office hours. If anybody's got any questions, I'm very easy to get a hold of. I have cell phones attached to my hip. And if there's any questions, any county questions, or city questions that you have, I can always help you. Joe and I work together very well, so that's about all I got. Thank you.
I think Mr. Beatrice had one more, something worthy to mention.
I'm sorry, I must have been overwhelmed by the crowd, but I wanted to let everybody know that I know flooding is always a big issue in our area. We've had some heavy rains. We do have the local flood mitigation task force, but the state task force will be meeting Wednesday and at 6 o'clock at MVCC. So I plan on attending that. I know Councilperson Colosimo and I believe Council person Friend will be there also.
In Rome.
In Rome, at MVCC in Rome. Okay, so I just wanted to let everybody know. And the same thing on that, like I said, I know these rains been coming crazy. Thank God, all the work the city's done the last couple of years in North Utica since the 2019 flood, we really haven't had, a lot of major issues. So hopefully we can keep up, the maintenance and moving forward, we'll try to fix the problem. I don't think we'll ever be able to fix it, but try to stay on top of it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, so at this time, does anybody else have anything relevant to bring up in terms of North Utica business? Okay, great. So what I'd like to do now is have a quick 5-minute intermission. If you need to use the restroom, grab some refreshments. We're going to stage the front for the candidate forum, and then we're going to start to introduce our respective candidates, some of the press that were kind enough to be here with us today, and then of course your moderators. We're going to go over the guidelines. So if you would like to take a look at that during this 5-minute intermission, there's some on the back table. I also have some hard copies in the front for you as well. So just give us about 5 minutes. We'll bring the candidates up and we'll get started right away. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm told that the raffle has to happen right now. Sorry. Excuse me. Oh, we almost got in trouble there. All right. So we do have the 50-50 right here, and you are supporting. Yep.
Oh, you don't want to sell any?
Do you want to, or you want to call it?
I don't, that's you.
All right. Does anybody else want to buy a 50-50 ticket before we call it? All right. Sounds good to me. All right. So the 50-50 raffle tonight is $50. All the proceeds are going to go directly to the North Utica Neighborhood Association and some of the efforts that we're trying to work on up here, specifically branding, advertising. We got to have a banner out front. We've got expendables like the papers that go home with your kids and at school and those types of things. So the winner of the 50-50 raffle for tonight is going to be 112056, and you can claim your prize right here. All right. So let's take that intermission, and then you're welcome to grab your seat. Thank you. All right, so can I get the candidates to please? To find a seat up here and.
Yes, means to register when. They're actually like that kind of regional. We already have all registered. Even. Oh, that's not sure. Yeah, so we can all. Yeah. Right. But why? Well, that's about easy, which where they were either. She could sit on it, reach in, follow. What? So what was you the you had to say some fountain, whatever, that's fake on the terrace. You know, so I know, there's Jack all over the belt. I know, make it all. So you just. No. Gotcha, that's fine. People, you're just. Rings from and one on license. Yes. It's what. You know, chair take the place. Right. Just. Wrap around the exhale, which the best is first. Alright, so. One of these. Alright, so. Everybody. Shop. It's the format. Joe, that's all sorry. Decided by. Pointed, you're learning at black party. Or not. You're not going to. So you want to that point. So it's because that's what it takes. And what it takes like the ultimate. I just trying. You know, I think you're really smart for. Okay, that's not a hard one. It's time to time. Time people are gonna wait on the card. I think it's. And it's fine. First, that's. Yeah, now, but. Trying to hear. So, or to. When you can, myself and appointment. Right now. That's on. Okay. You, because they can resolve. Yeah, you'll have your 2 minutes for this. I'm the workshop, it's black and white. You can change on it. So many words. What's that? Just no. No. So it's the review. All right, folks, if you can start getting ready your seats. Ready for it? Pretty funny. Oh, okay. I'll take one. That's the right one. All right, folks. You're all ready. We'll get started here. So, for those of you that have just come in the room, my name is Stephen Piacentino, and I'm going to be your moderator for this evening for the North Utica Neighborhood Association Utica School Board Candidate Forum. So it's a mouthful. So as I had mentioned earlier, the guidelines were in the front of the room. What I'd like to do is I'd like to start out by introducing the press and all the participants. We'll go over the guidelines so you guys know your roles and responsibilities as guests.
as well as those of the candidates and all of our press guests, and then we'll get started. So, Mr. Rozier, if you don't mind, would you like to start?
I'm Ken Rozier. I have Talk in Town radio station. What's up?
All right, and everybody just try to be a little loud because I know folks in the back are having a little hard time hearing. Sir?
Hi, I'm Mike Jakeways from the Sensible Media Group out of Rome, New York.
Excellent.
Hi, David Potus, independent journalist.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Joe Blanca Jr. and I am a local attorney and completing my 5th year on the school board. And at present, I am the president of the school board.
Excellent.
Good evening. My name is Jason Cooper. I'm a lifelong Utica resident, proud father of 2 young daughters in the elementary age at H.R. Jones in the district. And I am looking eager to hearing from you tonight. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Martosha. I live in South Utica. And I'm a big advocate for change. The status quo is not working. We gotta move forward.
My name is Susan Arcuri. I am a constitutional conservative. I am not woke and I'm here to change the system.
Hi, I'm Angela Greco. I'm also a lifelong resident of Utica. I live in Lower East Utica for the past 40 years. I have had 3 children that went through the Utica City School System, and I have 2 grandchildren that are presently owned to Utica Schools.
Excellent, thank you. Barson?
Claude Varsky, I'm one of the Neighborhood Association moderators or organizers.
Joseph Gelati, president of GSA Insurance. I'm also one of the Neighborhood Association moderators and organizers.
And Mr. Gelati will be the timekeeper for the purposes of tonight's meeting. So what I'd like to do is go over this guideline with you very, very quickly, and then we can get started. So what we did not do tonight was we did not have you submit questions ahead of time. So what I would ask is that the audience, you're going to be welcome once you're recognized by the moderator to ask your question. Keep it to around 30 seconds. Make sure it's not a statement. You know, we want substance and we want to get as much information out of our candidates as possible tonight. So let's try to be as fair as we can. All the candidates are going to have an opportunity to answer whatever question, whether it's directed to them or whether they may have an input on a question that's directed to another candidate. That all makes sense to you. So each candidate is going to have 2 minutes for their opening statements, and that's what we're going to do preceding us going over this form here. And they will all have 1 minute to answer each question that they're asked. Again, we have a timekeeper. We're just going to try to keep it as fair as possible. It's nothing nothing that's going to be too crazy here. Again, let's focus our remarks on substance and policy. We don't want any personal attacks up here, or from the audience for that matter. And again, being that this is hosted and sponsored by the North Utica Neighborhood Association, our priority is to serve the residents here in North Utica. We're happy that people from across the city have chosen to join us, but I would say try to let some of the North Utica residents get their questions answered up front if we can. All right, are there any questions from the audience? Excellent. Any questions from the candidates? So you understand the guidelines, then there are no questions. Excellent. So what I'd like to do is we'll just start with the candidates' opening statements from left to right. So Mr. Habaika, if you'd like to start.
Okay, so I've been on the board for 5 years, a president for the last year. I apologize for having to read the list of accomplishments that have occurred, but there are so many that I couldn't commit them all to memory. So far, what we've done in the past year that I've been on the board as president, we've reestablished college partnerships with SUNY Poly, Utica University, and MVCC. I'd like to reclaim my time. We've improved communication and collaboration with BOCES. We negotiated a modification of the Service Employees International Union Agreement. We prioritized and enhanced early childhood education. We created a central registration center so that all parents follow a consistent standardized registration process. We are creating the CTE, which is the Career and Tech Education Service, a regional high school. We've appointed a director. We've also obtained a consultant to assist us with the project. We've established partnerships with Safe Schools, ICANN, HMJ Consultant, Hillside Work Scholarship Connection, On Point for College. We've provided student-centered social emotional learning, mental health, college and career preparations. Okay, we settled the Utica Teachers Association contract. We've achieved salary equity for Utica administrators. We've developed an athletic coaching hiring calendar. We've presented with the board with information on a fund that the community foundation had in the amount of $565,000, which had laid unattended for 7 years. We've launched the district's webpage. It's ADA compliant and language translatable. We've launched a dedicated district Facebook page. We've established a process to create adherence to collective bargaining agreements, policies and procedures. We've developed a district organizational chart. We've hired a human resource consultant. We've increased the number of reading teachers. We've increased parent, student, and staff involvements to celebrate kids at the school board meetings. But most importantly, we've created accountability. There are no more friends and family no-show jobs and overtime abuses allowed anymore. And I'll get to the rest of the stuff because we're not done.
So before Mr. Cooper starts, if you could please silence and turn off your electronic devices, that would be very, very helpful. And please start whenever you're done.
Thank you, Steve. As I said, my name is Jason Cooper. I am the proud product of Utica City Schools. I graduated from Proctor in 1999. And I am today an active parent in our H.R. Jones PTA through fundraising, collaborating on activities and events for our children, and chaperoning, which is the best part because that's like being a kid. I also serve as co-director on our South Utica Neighborhood Association. And as a board member, I will bring a collaborative approach to problem solving, including everyone in the community, teachers, administrators, students. You folks in the audience tonight, you should all be part of the process and have a voice to be able to raise. I'm committed to keeping improving the communication and transparency between the board and the administration and the community itself. I believe every student deserves an equal opportunity to succeed and will support policies and programs to achieve that. And that our students have access to the resources and support that they need to achieve their goals. And lastly, I do believe that in order for our students to learn, they must be able to feel safe and supported in the learning environment. That is both from a physical and a mental health standpoint, and that is very important to me and near and dear to my heart. Thank you.
Mr. Martosha?
Hi, my name is John Martosha. My 3 kids went to the Utica school system. And, you know, I chose to live in the Utica school, city of Utica because of the diversity of the school. I've been committed to children pretty much my whole life. I volunteered thousands of hours at Thea Bowman for many years. I was a mentor at the House of Good Shepherd for children. Currently, I teach a religious education to high school kids ready for confirmation. So I am very committed to children. I'm doing this because I'm committed to the well-being of our children. And some of the points I really want to address and why I'm getting involved is I'm very big into discipline. I think that our children, we need a very strong student code of conduct, and the key, it has to be enforced. There's 99% of the children are very, very good, but there's a disruptive element of maybe 1%. So we want to create a learning environment where there's a strong student code of conduct, and I want it to really be enforced. I'm also very much an advocate of parental rights. You could use the word maybe parental involvement. I want to set up a parents committee, elected bind the parents of a particular school to meet regularly, to have a communication with the principal and the staff at the school. So I think parental rights will, maybe the term may be parental involvement. There's more of an interchange between the leadership of the school and the parents. Also, fiscal responsibility is another priority. There's currently 45 positions in the city of Utica. Administrators make between 120 and $165,000 a year. So I'm looking to trim the fat out of the budget, maybe reassess if some of these administrative positions are needed. Maybe the salaries are too much, etc. Also, the staffing of administration. So it's quite costly. We live in a community, very low income community. A lot of people are on fixed incomes. So there's definitely going to be physical responsibility is one of my priorities. I want to increase the graduation rates. If you want to ask me during the question, I have a lot of ideas how to increase the graduation rates. Okay. Yeah.
Thank
All right, yeah.
Appreciate it. All right, whenever you're
I
ready.
can see.
Thank you.
My name is Susan Arcuri. Most of you know me. I know a lot of faces here. I'm here to represent the children of this community. What we need to do is give back parental rights to our families, to the parents. They are to make the decisions for their children, whether it's curriculum, whether it's any of the woke nonsense that we have going on in the school district must end. We are born to bring up our children, to guide our children, to be morally responsible for our children. And I'm not about to turn that over to a group of people that all of a sudden think that they know best and inflict that type of ideology that, in my opinion, seems to be deviant. It's like a deviant behavior that's taken over this country. I will be there to fight for our kids, to make sure that their moral standards are in order, and it comes from the parents. The next thing I want to touch on is safety. Without safety in our schools, our children cannot learn. There has to be an all-out effort to recruit trained, qualified security people that have the knowledge and the foresight and not act reactively, but proactively. We have to bring up that pay scale for the low wage earners in this district. We need to cut out money for the administrators that are getting taught monies for pay to play and that type of thing. We've got administrators that have gotten raises for $50,000. We got 800 teachers that received a $10,000 bonus after they reopened a contract the week before spring break. We cannot afford this. This is $3 million resource that is coming from our children's pot into the teachers union that also can be used for other resources. And we have to really look at the financial end of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please try to speak up as loud as you can. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I was an employee of the district for, I'd say about 25 years on and off. I worked in every position from lunch monitor, teaching assistant, teacher, probably did janitorial work. When I ended with the school district, I was universal pre-K librarian 6 years. I used to come to this center and service the children of universal pre-K. I know a lot about the schools, and I know who the hardest workers are in the schools. There are support staff. Our support staff, teaching assistants, lunch monitors need our support. They're not getting the raises. Okay, they increased their hours by 2 or 3. They gave them some medical benefits. First of all, the benefits are outrageous. I have employees of the district calling me saying they're paying $500-600 a month just for their family's medical. What are they taking home? A couple $100? We need to take care of our support staff. That's number one. Number two, we need to create humility in our administration. I talked to somebody, actually, a gentleman came to our house today to visit my husband, and he was talking about a friend of his that worked for the district as a cleaner. He got an aggressive form of cancer. He is undergoing the most aggressive treatment. And he said this district, no one in this district has reached out to him at all. What kind of people are we if we can't take care of our own? This is ridiculous. And one last thing, we need a drug prevention program in our schools. There are people over, we have one overdose every 5 minutes in this country. Every 5 minutes, somebody dies of an overdose. We need drug prevention. We need to start at 6th, 7th grade and go on up. We need to bring people in, incorporate it into science classes, incorporate it into health classes. These kids have to know what's in these drugs and how they're affecting them.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is open up for the first round of questioning, if our media guests have any immediate questions, and then we'll go straight to our audience. Excellent. So first question, yeah, and if you don't mind, if you could just stand when you ask your question, just try to speak as loud as you can. And direct your question to the individual member that you'd like to answer it, or if it's for every member, please let us know that.
Great.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Cadera. Just registered my son for kindergarten. He will graduate from Proctor class of 2036. But my question is, I talked to a teacher at a school where he is zoned to go, and she told me my son would be better served at a different elementary school. So my question is, how do we get teachers to take pride in their school and also to ensure that the disparities among the elementary schools are reduced?
And who is the question directed towards?
It's whoever would like to respond.
Excellent. Any candidates like to respond, or we'll go right down the line?
Because that's one of my pet peeves, so I'll take that if you don't.
Okay, why don't you start, and if anybody else has comments, we'll go from right to left. Go ahead, please stand.
That goes to show you that all elementary schools in Utica are not equal. They're not. I have a grandson at one school. He doesn't have the materials that are needed. He hasn't been on a field trip in 4 years. 4 years. I have a granddaughter, his sister, at another school. She's been on 3 field trips in 2 years. And why are they at 2 different schools? Why can't we service him at his home school? This is one of the things that drives me crazy, and this is one of the things I want to work on.
Excellent, thank you. Mrs. Arcuri, do you have any thoughts?
I think that we've had for quite a while, a disparity in the schools, and there's cliques that have formed. And they've done for their children while taking away from the other children. I think those cliques need to be broken up. I think there has to be a way that we disperse those jobs. We have to really look at seniority and all that type of thing, but the cliques absolutely need to be broken up. Because I saw it at Albany School. You've got, board members that come in with their kids and they go in the back door. They have special perks. It should be the same for every single child. Should be equal in this district. I don't care if their mother sits on the board or if their father's cleaner. It should be the same.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Martosha, any thoughts?
Bureaucracies are noted for their incompetence, so we just simply have to focus our efforts. The most important effort we have to focus on is competent teachers. So if teachers are incompetent, that's an issue that has to be addressed. So the number one priority is competent teachers. So it seems like your son has an incompetent, your daughter has a teacher that's not serving his best interests. So
Excellent.
let's
Thank
get
you.
back to competence.
Mr. Cooper.
So I think, Ms. Guderres, my answer to that is, as a whole collective board and district administration included, we have to look at the equitable chances in our schools. Our 10 elementary schools are certainly not the same. I argued things at Jones because during our lunch recess, our kids were watching a television as opposed to interacting, going outside and getting those opportunities. Whereas other schools have 2 gymnasiums, one they use as an auditorium, the other is actual gym that they can go to and play during recess when it's inclement weather. I think that's a great question to pose. I don't know, but I think collaboratively, groups need to get together to figure that out.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Hubika.
Well, I think every school is different. Think schools were run a little bit different. The elementary schools were run a little bit differently prior to my tenure as president. I believe now that there's more collaboration, there's more independence for the principal to run the schools as that particular principal is appropriate for the staff and students and the parents. I can't tell you what would have motivated someone to tell you that your child should go to a different school to gain an advantage. And I don't think it's, that we have poor teachers, we have excellent teachers, and they work hard and they care about the kids. I listen to these suppositions that people are making. Final thoughts, it's a shame because they really don't have any real knowledge of what was in there.
Excuse me? Are you speaking?
Okay, all right. Mrs. Arcuri,
I didn't
that
think it
was not
appropriate.
directed to anybody. Next question, please. Yes, sir. If you don't mind just standing and try to speak as loud as you can. Thank you.
My name is James Paul.
Come on.
Ms. Arcuri,
Yes.
do you know me
Oh, no,
personally?
no,
Have ever
no.
had a conversation?
I know that what you
Have-
stand for is
Have you and I?
fundamentally
Mr.
different
Paul.
than what I stand for.
Mr. Paul,
Well, get your question out.
direct your question.
All race or racist. And
I never
call-
called you a racist.
Mrs.
I
Arcuri,
call
You
you
call me a
a
racist.
everyone, we are not gonna have a back and forth this meeting.
Right.
So if I.
Mr. Paul, Mr. Paul,
Question.
ask your question. You have 30 seconds and then she can respond.
If we allow bullying in schools
Mhm,
at the student level,
right.
or don't allow it, can we allow it at the school board level?
Well, I think you have a perfect example here.
So, Mrs. Arcuri,
Just
you're
ask
welcome
the
to stand up and answer his question.
Yes,
1
I
minute.
think we have a
Thank you
perfect
for your
example
question.
of bullying. Mr. Mike there. I mean, he's fired people, he's retaliated against people, he's paid people off for their testimony. We've got a lady in the back of the room that's part of the pay for play. Yes, do I go for bullying? Absolutely not. But you are a product of that with Mr. Mike. You are.
Mrs. Arcuri, we're not going
You are
to,
number top.
we're not going to directly refer to other candidates. Is that
Now
clear?
that she's
Mr. Habaika,
to me,
Mr. Habaika,
like.
Mr. Habaika, you can respond if you would like, but let's keep it to the substance of the question.
It's this is forum for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to do in the other neighborhood associations, but that behavior is not gonna happen here. Is that clear? Because you'll be asked to leave. Mr. Habaika, you have 1 minute to respond.
Well, again, I feel very badly for Sue.
Don't feel bad for me.
I do, because she operates based on innuendo and assumption. People don't get fired by me, and they basically don't get fired by the board. They're fired by the administrators and the administration. We ratify the act if it's appropriate. I don't want to say anything further about it because I don't want to dignify it any further.
Thank you for your thoughts. That's the end of that line of questioning. Next. Do we have any other questions? Yes, sir, please.
So there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect, but also agreement that some things have not been done properly in the district that has. Some of you seem to suggest that it's Bruce Karam and Bruce Karam alone. Some people seem to suggest that it's only administrators who are under him. So on both sides of that question, don't you think that if things improperly, unethically, or illegally happened in this district, that it was more than one individual who knew about those actions and who perpetrated those actions against this district? That question is directed to
everyone. So let's start from left to right, please.
I agree, it's more than one.
Please stand for your response.
It's a group. It's a group. I mean, I don't know how else to put it without me, I don't want to name names, but I've been around the district a long time and I've seen a lot. I worked in the administration building for 5 years. I saw a lot at 119, and I'm not going to stand up here and defend Bruce Karam, but there's stuff still going on. I'll tell you that right now. We just changed faces. That's all we did. We changed faces.
Excellent. Mrs. Arcuri?
I think there's a lot going on. The news media isn't covering everything. I think that there's a lot behind the scenes when you have president that has been convicted of criminal solicitation and continues to do it under the guise of nothing. And our superintendent is here, our superintendent makes the decision. everything is done backdoor, in my opinion. Everything that I say here is of my opinion. And we see how it works when you're rewarding people for signing statements and perjuring themselves. Then we have a problem. Then it's ongoing and it needs to stop.
Mr. Martosha, please.
Interesting. I've been doing a little canvassing, I've been talking to quite a few people. And it's right, there seems to be an issue between Karen supporters and Hawaii supporters. So the people that support Karen, they make him a really great guy. Hawaii is a real bad guy. And then people that support Hawaii, he's a good guy. And, Karen's a bad guy. So I think once I get on the board, God willing, if I get on the board, there's some middle ground here. I don't have the criteria right now to make a determination. I have to look at the facts presented to me, but it seems maybe there's some sense of, there has to be a middle ground. And I really want to get to the root of this, because I want to be loyal to what is the truth. What is the truth of the matter? It's not about power. It's not about, bias against an individual or a particular person. It's good to look at it objectively and find what the truth of the matter is.
Final thought.
And that's about it. I think there's a middle ground.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cooper.
So I actually believe we need to encourage the district to run in a managed and an ethical manner, whether that is Mr. Parham, whether that is Mr. Nolan, whomever the next superintendent may be in the Utica City School Board. The Board of Education supervises that individual. They have the oversight. They are responsible as well. At the end of the day, they need to do their job. And I am eager to hopefully interview that next candidate.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Habaika.
So we have two candidates that made comments about me, so I'll take 3 minutes. One from.
Mr. Habaika, I'm the moderator,
One.
and you have 1 minute to respond to the direct question. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, the only person with a criminal record in this room is Sue Arcuri. And.
Mrs. Arcuri, you will allow him to answer the question, please.
Very
Felony
careful.
drug dealing and was sentenced to lifetime probation. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the devil and good and evil, the fact of the matter is that we follow procedure. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Karen's lawsuit, state lawsuit, was dismissed today. By vindicating the board and following appropriate process. Now, I really can't remember what the base question was because I had to sit and defend myself from these attacks. So could you just repeat what what was the question again, Brandon?
It was, if you can really just say it was one individual who's been perpetrating potential.
And I'll allow you a final comment, Mr.
What has occurred with me as president, and frankly, in the 5 years that I've been on, we have tightened up oversight. We have improved, are setting forth with following the purchasing procedures. We brought in a human resource person in order to address problems with human resources so that we could properly follow procedures. Also, again, stop no-show jobs and overtime abuses. And we are doing everything we can to maintain proper procedures and following the policies of the district. And that's what's happening now.
May I respond?
That's time. No, we need to get on. We need to get on to another line of questioning.
I need to clarify
You have 30 seconds.
with regard to with regard to criminal convictions, Mr. Oblanca knows his brother was disbarred. He held the criminal conviction on criminal solicitation. The federal judge said that he was.
Let me
part.
Let me remind all of the candidates. We are going to speak on the substance of the issues.
Yes.
That is why this meeting is convened. Mr. Arcuri, Mrs. Arcuri, that is the end of that line of questioning, and I appreciate your thoughts on the matter. Thank
I
you.
should have.
Next question, please.
Fine.
Please come forward and speak up.
Yeah, so this is a question for everybody and then a specific question for Mr. Marcosa. So the question for everybody is. You get reelected or you get elected, two things you will implement from day one or want to implement from day one. You talked about change. What are two things that you want to see moving forward? And then Mr. Markosha, I just would like you to expand a little bit more. You talked about a strict code of conduct. And I'd like to know a little bit more about that, what that looks like and what is provided as an alternative for kids that break that code of conduct.
Sure, excellent. So the general question was to the entire panel?
Yeah, general question.
So, Mr. Vica, would you like to start?
No, I'll wait, so I'm gonna get attacked all the way down the line.
Okay, so go ahead, Mrs. Greco.
Well, the main thing I want implemented is the drug prevention programs. I lost a nephew to an overdose. And I guarantee you, everybody in this room will be touched personally by somebody dying of an overdose. I don't wish it on anybody, but it will happen. Never thought it would happen to us. My son almost died. Narcan, that's why I fought for Narcan in our schools. Like the New Hartford, it took a while for Utica, New Hartford right away. But they finally, after email from myself and my son, we have Narcan in our schools. I'd rather see it in our school than not need it, than need it and not have it. So that's my baby right there.
Mrs. Arcuri.
The first two things that I would implement is number one, accountability. We have people getting jobs. It's open meetings. You're supposed to put down the salary. We have hid that salary from the public. The second thing that I would address is safety, a big concern. I would ask why Mr. Biken gave a $3 million weapon detection system to MVHS in exchange for $1,500 a month. You know, these are things that we can't afford. A $3 million system, just hand it over. And what was in exchange for it? Mr. Abika's daughter received a contract from MVHS for the furniture. This is the stuff that needs to be held accountable for. We can't just keep giving out money and breaking the school district without letting the public know exactly where the money is going, who it's going to. The nepotism has to stop.
Time, Mr. Martosha.
Yeah, two things I would focus on: discipline. And that discipline, safety is premier. We think of the outside source, which is an obvious issue. You don't want shooters coming to the school. But I think the real safety issue is interior. There has to be a strong student code of conduct where discipline is enforced, with capital E on it, enforced all the way through, and that has to be from the principal on down. And disciplinary actions would maybe be detention, suspension, or maybe even better yet, counseling. But 1% of the children are making a disruptive environment for the 99%. It's girls being groped, there's sexual misconduct, there's physical misconduct, there's mental harassment. There's a lot going on. And I think a lot of kids are getting it. I talked to a young girl the other day, she's frightened to go to school. Okay, so there are some serious discipline issues. And I think they really need to be enforced because the kids,
And that's time.
teachers say to run into school, you know?
And so, Mr. Gentile, you had a
The
second,
thing was,
you had a secondary question, so I'm going to allow him an additional minute to answer your second question.
Expressing, strict code of conduct, wanting to enforce.
right,
So what does that look like?
which it looks like everybody has to be on board from the principal on down. Everybody's afraid of making waves.
What does the enforcement?
Okay, Mr. Gentile, you've asked your question, allow him to answer it.
Procure, sit with the superintendent and the board, and develop criteria that has to be followed. It has to be enforced. The principal from on down has to agree, everybody has to be on board, the teachers, the principal.
Are you talking enforcement? Are you talking, what do
You can get,
enforcement look, that's all I'm.
okay, it could be suspension, it could be detention, it could be counseling. But it has to be enforced. Kids cannot get away with saying, after you to another kid, I grab a girl on the butt. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of kids are frightened to go to school. I'm telling you right now, it's a fact. And it shouldn't be that way in school. The kids are not disciplined properly.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Cooper, please.
Thank you. So the two things I would implement upset or advocate for at least is around communication. The first, I have attended nearly every single board meeting for the last 3 years. I have gone there every time. I public commented several times. The one thing that we lack is the recording of those public comments. If it is not recorded, it is not included in minutes. I, as a parent, might have the same concern looking for an answer that you might have. And at the end of the day, I continue to seek that if I don't get that answer right and it's not recorded. So that's something I do advocate for. The other is around providing monthly updates at board meetings. To Mr. Hobaika's point, we've secured relationships with great agencies, ICANN, Safe Schools, the Hilda Jordan. I would love for these groups working with our parent liaisons and administrators and teachers to come in and present during board meetings of updates. Obviously, not every month. Let's split that up. Joe, give me 1 sec. Just let's split that up 2 a month. Let's give our taxpayers, let's give the community, the teachers, everyone there, and everyone streaming live that is recorded, the updates that they deserve around their progress.
Thank you. Mr. Habaika.
First of all, I guess I have to address the issue of the security system. I didn't negotiate that deal. That was negotiated by the superintendent. It was ratified by the board. There was no quid pro quo. Enough said on that. We actually do have a strong code of conduct. And yes, it is implemented, and it's implemented almost daily. We have a lot of superintendent hearings. We are looking to try to adjust how we implement it because we need to get more counseling involved. It needs to be a little bit more collaborative process and in order to improve the mental health of the kids that are attending school. I don't agree with all the suppositions that many of the board members are making about the district not. One more thing. And as far as the board meetings are concerned, if you haven't watched the streaming meetings or attended in person, which that was something that we insisted on having. Matter of fact, Anthony Leopold and myself, and we got it so that people could watch at home and couldn't come down. And then you see the difference between how the meetings were run prior to when I became president to how the meetings are run now. We have all kinds of presentations that are made. And
Mr. Habaika, final thoughts, please.
And there is an immense amount of transparency. And as a matter of fact, you also get to see our students in action. And so you can see.
That's the time, Mr. Habaika. Thank you.
Producing.
Thank you. And Mr. Martosha has asked for 30 seconds.
It's not a supposition. Principals don't want to make weight. If there's a discipline issue, a teacher issue, having a problem with a child, they look the other way. There's not enough strength, there's not enough conviction, there's not enough courage to do what needs to be done in our schools. Principal's got this job, he's sitting there, it's status quo. He doesn't want to do what he has to do to make the school run properly. Why make weight? Essentially, it isn't a stuff, it's the fact. You have weak leaders.
Final thoughts, Mr. Martosha.
Weak people.
A lot of female work. He'd say he.
Well, she too. Okay.
Mr. Gentile, if you're not asking a question, please don't interrupt. Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Please stand up and speak loud and clear.
Yes, and each of you, they negative items in the code of conduct that you would like to change for the good and make positive.
And that's for,
Negative things in the code of conduct.
and that's for all the,
That is for each of them.
excellent. Would you like to start, Mr. Habaika?
No, I'll wait until the end so I can defend all the accounts.
All right, Mrs. Greco.
That's your win. One thing in the code of conduct that I'd like to absolutely address is when they have the hearings that they're represented by somebody. I understand that they have like a hearing and they should be there with an attorney, each child, so that they're not blackballed or they're not we've got a lot of retaliation going on in the district. My granddaughter was thrown out of Proctor on a little technicality. That's some retribution that we see going on. And so if that went to a hearing in front of their flunkies that, make legal decisions, I'd like to have them be represented by an attorney.
And Mrs. Greco, are you declining the answer?
Yeah, I don't want to.
Mr. Markosha.
The key here is enforcement. I did prison ministry for a number of years. And I told the guards, this is a very difficult job. How do you do it? How do you? Very easy, John, if you don't see what's happening. A lot of people don't want to see what's happening. That's why there's a lot of issues that aren't being resolved. If you don't see the problem, it makes your job a lot easier. Wash your hands. Everybody has to be on board for discipline, from the teachers, the principal on up. If the principal's not doing the job, he's got to go. If he's not going to discipline the kids, he's afraid to make waves, he's got to go. End of story.
Could you ask a question, sir?
Mr. Cooper.
You're not a moderator. Difficult time.
So I actually think we have a pretty strong code of conduct. And quite honestly, Ms. Paul, I'm not sure if there is something today that I can tell you is negative, in my opinion, and that I would be looking to change.
Thank you. Mr. Habaika.
You know, I guess having to deal with the aftermath of the superintendent hearings that relate to student discipline. I would say giving more options in terms of, I'll call it punishment, but it's really not punishment. It would be the result of the superintendent's hearing. I think that, you know, we need to be able to provide different options rather than just removal from school or being sent to MSA. I think sometimes, for example, when we have refugee children that have come from a war-torn country, you know, you may need to have to deal with some of the trauma that they suffered from when they were in their home country, and now they're here and things happen.
Final thoughts, please.
That's one of the things that I would say that we really need to, you know, look into. And I think, and by the way, we are looking into.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? I think there was a hand up on the side here. And then I'll get to Mr. Singleton after that. Yes, ma'am. Please stand up and speak clearly.
This question is for everyone. In light of the recent release of the audio of the superintendent Bruce Karam, and in the audio he says that he pressed the woman until she basically quit her job. That happens a lot in the district, or happened a lot. I don't know if it currently does. Myself, I was pressured until I quit my job with Utica City Schools. How will you, as a board member, make sure and ensure that that type of behavior is not going on due to someone's political beliefs, due to questioning something that maybe they don't understand or need clarification on? How will you, as a board member, ensure that that type of behavior doesn't continue in the district?
Thank you. And we will start with Mr. Habaika this time.
I think the proof's in the pudding. What can I say? I'm not gonna make any further comment because obviously there's an issue right now. All I can tell you is we follow the process, we protect the employees, and if complaints are filed, you do what you have to do. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cooper.
So I think, in my opinion, what that boils down to is bullying. It's another form of bullying. And at the end of the day, as a board member, as anyone working with the district and the administration, which they have done over the past 10 months or so, is create a different culture. It's creating relationships. It's building relationships between the UTA, the UUA, and the administration and the board. It's allowing safe space for individuals such as yourself to have someone to go speak to, have someone to contact and meet with, and come to agreement and figure that situation out so that you don't have to leave the district.
Thank you.
You're talking about disciplining children, the adults also have to be accountable as well. So we shouldn't tolerate, you know, that type of behavior on the part of any adult, whether they're board members or any. Human respect is the very essence of what we try to teach our students and amongst ourselves. So obviously the discipline has to be up, and the adults have to respect as well. And it should obviously not be tolerated at all, under no circumstance.
Mrs. Arcuri.
Well, to address your question, would be to confirm or, to confirm that that's true. That statement you made is true. So I cannot confirm that. That has to go through the court of law. You know that it was dismissed in the states today. We have a federal case and we have numerous grievances yet that need to be heard within the district. The morale is the lowest it's ever been. So I cannot address your statement as being factual unless it's got due process. Like I had due process on his case before he was convicted. I say we give Mr. Karam due process during this case, you know, and let it play out.
Right, and
Equal justice for all.
Mrs. Arcuri, I will remind you to keep your answers relevant to the questions,
Yes,
please.
thank you.
Mrs. Greco.
I'm not gonna say whether you know better than me that went on under Bruce Karam. But I'll tell you right now, it's still going on. I've gotten numerous phone calls. The bullying is still going on. We still have administrators in the system that are bullying. It's happening. I mean, I know firsthand it's happening. So, you know, this is what's got to be addressed. If Bruce Karam comes back, it needs to be addressed with him. And it needs to be addressed with the administrators right now, because it does happen and it's still happening.
Thank you. And I did have a question here, and then I will get to your question next. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening. Question is for the entire board. How effective or ineffective school board is reflected upon the whole school system. Last October 22, New York State Education Department released data on math and ELA test scores, grades 3 through 8, out of 647 school districts in New York State. Utica ranked 558, with one being the best. Utica was 558 in ELA and 452 in math. My question is, as a school board, what can we do to improve those test scores? Anybody looking to come into the area, they look at these figures and they say, right, only, I think, 2 or 3 school districts in upstate New York even made the top 20. What can we do to improve our school districts here?
Thank you, sir. And we'll start with Mrs. Greco this time.
Well, we need to stop with the nonsense. And the nonsense has been going on a long time. It's all about egos and power struggles, and it's not about the kids. It hasn't been about the kids in a very long time, and it still isn't about the kids. And, you know, when you have dissension at the high level, it's going to trickle down. It's like when parents are fighting, going through a divorce, the kids are going to be affected. Same thing. And it's going to continue to happen if we continue to go on like we are. So we need a school board that's going to work together, and it's really going to care about the kids and not just say they care about the kids.
Mrs. Arcuri.
I think we have to give Utica a little bit of a leeway because we have the influx of a lot of different kids from a lot of different countries. And we've got a lot to teach them. Many don't speak English, but they do very well. I think the main thing is we have to take the focus off the woke agenda, bathrooms and who's using this and that and the kitty litter, and start focusing back on math, arithmetic, English, social studies, the things that are important. Constitution, let's bring the Constitution back into the classroom.
Excellent, thank you.
I don't think it's.
Mr. Martosha.
I think problem with the the students not doing well, not performing well. I don't think it's an attitude issue. I think it's an issue of, there needs to be an outreach. A lot of people, children don't perform well because of family issues. Maybe issues, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and maybe abuse, mental, physical, sexual abuse. So we really have to have an outreach, coordinated outreach, when people are falling through the cracks. When they're not performing well, let's have a coordinated effort with the outreach, the support staff, and the parents. I know people in the Utica school system falling through the cracks, and there's no outreach from the school to reach out to the parents and the families. So I think it's really not an aptitude issue. It's an issue of addressing the needs of that child, why he's falling. Family issues, drug addiction, abuse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's all about outreach.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cooper.
So I think part of that, my answer is going to be, as a district, we have to look at curriculum. I can tell you, and I stand corrected if I'm wrong, is we as a district, the teachers and everyone who's had input have begun to look to move from what we do now for ELA into a different program. If iReady is not working, which is what we're using, let's shop. Let's see what's out there that we can use to benefit our district, right? To me, that makes sense. If we're failing on one end, what do we do to improve it? Also, we have extended learning time in the district, which means that quote unquote tutoring. So kids can stay after and get further assistance with math, ELA skills, whatever it might be. We need to look at that and say, is it working? And how can we make that bigger and better? We have amazing teachers who only want to be there to help these kids. We need to help them succeed.
Thank you. Mr. Habaika. One minute to explain what actually is happening. First of all, we have one school in one particular portion that is still on the list. Everybody else has made it off that list of the schools that need extra assistance. That's number one. Number two, we've increased the number of reading teachers. Number three, we've increased the number of teachers. Number four, we've reduced the number of the class sizes. Number five, we actually have qualified individuals working collaboratively to put these projects together. And it's not the board's purview to decide what particular curriculum is implemented. They make a presentation to us, we can ask questions, but the professionals when it comes to learning are the ones that implement it. We've done so much in the past 10 months, and you're gonna see a huge dip. And by the way, we have a $243 million budget and no tax increase. We are.
Final thoughts, please, Mr.
All of the services that are coming to the students, and we've increased the number of parent liaisons for outreach.
Thank you, sir. And I know that we had another question right here. Thank you. And then you'll be next, directly behind her. Thanks.
So my question is directed to everyone. There's some talk of morale. And while morale has improved over the last 10 months, it is going to take a lot to repair the damage that has gone on. We have some of the best teachers in this entire area. Utica teachers could teach anywhere. And I truly believe that most of us are there for the best of the kids. And it takes a lot to push us to the point where we would leave this district because we know that we are so important to the kids. So my question for all of you is, what will you do as a board member to support our teachers, give them what they need, and bring back the morale where we feel valued, respected, and appreciated for our expertise?
Thank you for your question. Mr. White, would you like to start?
I think I've done a pretty good job supporting the teachers. I felt it was very important for the teachers to collaborate and participate in the decision-making processes when it came to the types of curriculum that were being taught, for example, the reading or the math. I encouraged people to participate. I encourage people to tell people what's going on. I don't know what else to say other than if you come and you watch the meetings, whether you watch live stream or otherwise, it's right there. You see me every meeting doing what's supposed to be done as a school board member. So, you know, I would encourage all of you to go to the district's website and watch the meetings, because if you're for collaboration, if you're
Final thoughts, please.
if you're for responsibility, if you're for team building, then you're for me.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Cooper.
So I think part of it begins with compensation. I mean, at the root of it, I think that's important. I think that begins with healthy contract negotiation. I think that for a long time that went on deaf ears. And I think with the current interim superintendent, that was picked up pretty quickly. The other piece of that I think is resources. A lot of people in the district need to get out of the way and let you do your job. At the end of the day, Mr. Obleika's point, this proposed budget, which I stand behind, I think is a great proposed budget, offers additional TAs, additional teachers. I believe 30 resources, mainly in the special education area. That is phenomenal. That is people helping, hopefully your group succeed and get our kids to succeed and achieve their goals.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Mr. Martosha.
With teachers, you need to create a competitive environment. I think teachers need to be rewarded based on their skill level. There has to be some type of criteria where good teachers are rewarded. You have to create an environment where they're rewarded for their services. And not all teachers are created equal, unfortunately. So you have to have some type of reward system. They have to be rightly compensated as well. Compensation is important. I would trim a lot of the fat out of the administrative positions. Eliminate some of those jobs or cut. Because not only do you have administrators, you have staff. Cut the expenses there, take some of that money, put it back into the teaching staff. I do believe, like my friend to the right, that they should be rightly compensated. But I do agree there should be more of a competitive nature where they're rewarded based on their merits and their skill. Then you bring better teachers into the system.
How do you measure?
Well, that's where you develop a criteria. I mean, there could be a
Because
criteria.
state tests are not.
No, and what you could do, you could.
Final thoughts, sir.
Excuse me?
Final thoughts.
I gotta answer that question, right?
Yeah.
So you could get like a pool of student, fourth grade teacher versus a third grade teacher. Take that pool of students in the fourth grade, some with standardized stuff, how they performed in the fourth grade versus that same pool of students, a standardized test that they performed in the third grade.
What about the kids?
And then the teacher that showed, the teachers that show the greatest improvement on standardized tests. The improvement students.
Had a parent die.
Okay, ma'am, let him finish his line of thinking and then we have to move on to the next question. That's, you have to look at it and consider all the various options. But there is a way to measure that. So the debate is, how do you measure? What do you do? Scientifically, unequivocally, you measure. To say it can't is a ridiculous statement. It can be measured and it should. Thank you, sir. Mr. Arcuri, thank you.
I think they were, like John said, we're top heavy in administration, and the last, Mr. Obleika has taken over as president. We've seen $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 raises among the administrators. Then we've seen some come in that aren't qualified, so they bring in consultants. We have a morale problem. It's been there. He's been here 5 years, but it hasn't been corrected. So we can't put everything on Bruce Karam or whatever. You've got $10,000 each to each teacher. 800 teachers received a $10,000 bonus. They bought the votes this year. And I mean, that should boost your morale. I don't know what else to tell you, teachers. I mean, that would boost my morale a little bit.
All right, Mrs. Greco. Mrs. Greco, go ahead.
So I think that actions speak louder than words. And once I see, I talked to a parent yesterday whose child is in a special ed classroom 15-1. Yeah, there's one teacher in that classroom. There's 14 behavioral problems. That one student's getting nothing. She said it's been a wasted year. When I see bodies being put into that classroom, discipline being handled, and things start improving, then I'll believe it. But up until then, I don't believe it.
Thank you. And Miss, I think you had a question in the back. Yes, please, go ahead. All right. So let's do your first one, let them answer, and then I'll let you ask your second.
For Miss Greco, I agree, actually, that there should be a direct program in our district. I think it would be amazing for our kids. But if you also believe in a trickle-down theory, if elected, Miss Arcuri has been prosecuted for criminally selling drugs.
Correct, absolutely.
No, thank you.
And I am the poster child.
Mrs. Arcuri,
Fiction, what you look like. Absolutely.
Mrs. Arcuri, you allow her to ask the question. Thank you.
Absolutely.
The people at the top were participating in it. If that's hypocritical.
I don't think it's hypocritical because most of our, most recovered addicts are probably the best resource we have.
Absolutely.
I'm sold them.
We don't know, you don't know that.
No.
You don't know.
I know what you're saying, but we don't know if she wasn't an addict at one time. Do you know
Okay,
that?
well, my question was, how successful do you think the
I
program
think-
would be?
I need to answer.
Drug
One
addiction,
second.
it's a totally different ballgame. Believe me, I know enough about it. I've been to enough workshops. I've talked to enough doctors. She will definitely, would probably be a pro for this program.
So you think it'll be successful?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
because Mrs. Arcuri was mentioned, I will give her a 30-second response, and then you'll be allowed to ask your second question. Go ahead.
Ownership for my mistakes. 30 years ago, there was a mistake. I am the poster child. What it looks like. I am an asset to this district because I know how to overcome the obstacles. And Mr. Michael will not own the criminal conviction that he holds today. I own it. It's here.
Mrs. Arcuri, please answer the questions
Yeah, I
directly.
did.
Thank you.
Please
Go ahead
Can
and
you stop me blaming me, because I don't, you're.
How about this? How about
only
both of
criminal
you?
conviction.
Stop.
So stop.
No, you got one.
Going.
everyone, hey, you will maintain a certain level of decorum here. Mrs. Arcuri, I will not say it again.
Stop bullying.
You have no remorse.
Stop bullying.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Perfect. Big boy pants.
It's enough. Go ahead.
Second question was directed to you. I heard your introduction. I should listen. I feel like along with the rest of the questions that were asked tonight, all of
It's
your.
ass, not X, it's ass.
Mrs. Arcuri, please allow her, Mrs. Arcuri, please allow her to ask her question.
I don't know if that was a did,
No, there's a correction, and you're making a grammatical correction.
anyway.
Yep. We're gonna. Everyone, bear with us. This is gonna be the second to the last question. I'll allow one more, and then the press corps is gonna ask theirs. So go ahead.
All of your answers were a dig at another candidate, but I don't really understand what your intentions are or what your main goal is. Are you for the kids in the district, or are you here on a personal vendetta trying to get back at kids?
Let me answer that. I'll be more than happy.
All as involved, so I don't really think you're in it for the children. So yeah,
Okay.
what's your goal?
We're all entitled to our opinion.
What is our goal?
So Mrs. Arcuri, you'll have 1 minute to respond. Thank you.
Thank you. My goal is to make sure our kids are safe, to get this woke agenda out of our schools. I will not compromise on sexual material in classrooms. I will not conform to boys being in the girls' bathrooms. These are my goals, to clean it up. We have had enough. We don't have to have boys in the girls' rooms and all your woke agenda. I came here tonight and I looked at the crowd and I see the enemy among us. So I'm really willing to take you on. My goal is children, from moral, from sanctity, to save them from destruction of this crowd. It's all over the country. You've infiltrated, destroyed our children.
We are.
Time to take it back.
Okay, we are time. Thank you. What I'd like to do at this time is I'd like to open it up to the press corps for questions. The candidates will have an opportunity to do a closing statement when they're finished. Mr. Rozier with Talk of the Town, would you like to start, please? Everyone, please direct your attention to the front. Thank you.
This is all in days. How do you expect voters to get behind candidates when they witness an election like this? Anybody can come in this.
And that's directed to all the candidates?
All.
Yes.
So we'll start with Mrs. Greco. Mrs. Arcuri, I will moderate. Thank you. Mrs. Greco?
Mr. Rozier.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I should. My question is, how do you expect the voters to get behind an election when we watch candidates go at each other like this?
when if we're really focused on our children, how do you rectify the two things? And how do we expect to get more people involved if this is what they witness?
Thank you. Mrs. Greco.
Been going on for years, as far back as I can remember. There's always been this, I don't know, fight for the power, the egos. And that's the problem. They're not really, there's nobody that's humble enough or that has the humility. They're not thinking, the good's not coming from their soul to really worry about these kids and what they need. And I don't know, I think they really have to look into themselves and say, what am I in this for, really? Why am I here? Why am I here? Because a lot of them are not here for what they should be here.
Thank you. Mrs. Arcuri, 1 minute, please.
Mr. Roger, I think the problem is that we have to face the truth. And we're constantly being inundated with lies, you know, and they compound them and they infiltrate within the district with all this, all sugar coated. Nothing in this district is going well, nothing at all. You've got people getting payoffs for signing statements. You've got people being fired. You've got people that aren't qualified getting $168,000 a year because they're flunkies. This is the reality of it. You know, we can sit out here all day and talk about the niceties, but it's not happening in this district. We've got administrators that have jumped from 60,000 to 150,000. We can't afford this. He spent $3 million in the last 6 months. We cannot afford it. He's taking the resources from our children.
Final thought.
Not first. Have to come first, and that money has to be dispersed to our children for their safety, for their education, and none of this nonsense with paying off people for hate play.
Thank you. Mr. Martosha.
Yeah, I think it's all about communication. It's not about left ideology or right ideology. It's about what is the best for the children. And let's have an interchange of ideas. True debate. The ultimate focus is not partisan politics. The ultimate focus is what is best for our children. And there has to be a communication, an exchange. Can't be about, it's the children. It's not about compromising. It's not about power or petty politics or whatever terminology you want to use. Why are we doing it? Do we really care about the children? If we do, we have to communicate with one another. Bring something common to the table that's best for the children. Understood. We have different ideologies, but that cannot get in the way of resolving the issues to work with special our children. That's all I don't know what to say. You know?
Thank you. Mr. Cooper.
So I truly hope that over the course of tonight and what the other meetings I've done and speaking with your team on the radio, that I convey, I do not go after people on social media because of their viewpoints or where they stand. That is how I stand up for the teachers and our kids in the school because those are our frontline people. In order to succeed, we need them. If we don't have them, we don't have a school district. So that is my answer.
Thank you, sir. Let's put it back on.
Well, I got on the school board to do something for the benefit of the city, taxpayers, especially the students. I've improved transparency, improved accountability, improved collaboration. Instead, what am I getting? I'm getting personally attacked, my character assassinated.
It's
all
true.
kinds of lies
Mr.
being told. And then what? I'm just supposed to sit here and be a punching bag? I am not a punching bag, and I don't deserve this. I've worked hard for the community, and you can see things turning. It's exciting. We have the regional CTE high school coming up. We have additional teams for kids to play sports. We have intramurals being implemented for the first time. We have summer camps coming. I mean, there's a lot of things being done. We've increased, you know, the problem is you can sit here and toss an idea out, have no knowledge behind it. And then when you sit and start talking facts, it takes a little time. Now, as I was saying, we have all kinds of things. We have all kinds of things in process. And if you think that the district is going in the correct direction, then please vote for me. If you think we're going in the wrong direction and you're in favor of lack of transparency, lack of accountability, no-show jobs, overtime abuse,
Mr. Habaika,
and
you've had your time, thank you.
vision, then please.
Mr. Habaika, thank you. And, the Daily Sentinel, please.
Well, I'd like to set a scenario where we have the 5 people sitting here at the table are the 5 people on the Board of Education right this moment. The vote is coming up to you right now, whether to reinstate suspended superintendent Bruce Karam or to continue that suspension that he's on right now. How would you vote and why?
Would you like to start, Mr. Habaika?
No, I'll be last.
I don't think you understand. I'm asking you to start. I'm the moderator here.
It's not about me.
Not about you either, Mike. Go ahead, Mr. Habaika.
Coach is sharp. Right, first. Well, let me ask you.
That's fine. If you want him to start first, go ahead. We've gone up and down the panel so that everybody has had equal exposure.
I don't think so.
Well, you're not paying attention. Go ahead, Mr. Markosha.
I don't think you were paying attention when you signed Mr. Markosha's petitions twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see if the objection goes through.
The question was, how would you vote if you had to vote right now, whether to reinstate Bruce Karam or to continue the suspension line?
Right now, it would be wise decision for me to make a determination about the return. I would have to know, the circumstances involved, and we're not privy to that because I'm not on the board at this juncture. So to make a determination would be foolish on my part. I would have to understand the control involved. One thing I could say about Mr. Karam is, he may have exercised some poor judgment, but we're all guilty of poor judgment. You know, him without sin cast the first stone. You got it, Mr. Karam? But that's not a determination because I don't have the data to make an intelligent determination. So I would have to wait to get the board and understand all the variables to make a determination. One thing I gotta say, you know, he who judges will himself be judged. We're a little tough on Mr. Karam. What he did, I'm not agreeing with. Number one, not agreeing with what he did.
Please.
We have to understand that we're all frail. We make decisions, we do things that are rational. So let's look at things a little more objectively. Let's not take sides on this issue. Let's be objective, truthful, and honest. It's all about power and which side we on. Yeah.
This is our hearing.
Yeah, I have to say at this point in time, these are allegations, they haven't been proven in the court of law. We have one thing dismissed, but we've also had, case released to Mr. Healer, who was paid by Mr. Like $9,000.
No insinuations, please.
And,
No,
no.
answer the question directly,
And
please.
I cannot, basically say that I can make a determination at this point. Due process is what we're all afforded under our constitution, and I would expect that Mr. Karam would get due process.
Thank you. Mrs. Greco.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a trick question. They asked the same question at the last forum. I feel like you're just trying to divide us between food care and people and whoever's on the other side, and we just don't know enough. We've been kept in the dark. I mean, that tape came out, but that tape to me, the people that released it are worse than what I heard on the tape, because now we've got parents and stuff for it. So, yeah, think about that mother that lost her daughter. Think about her.
Folks,
I'm not talking about blood.
you have to allow her to answer. You may not agree. Well, let's have respect.
If you don't want to listen, then just go.
Yeah,
Let's just let them talk.
and if we're gonna talk about the blog, don't read it. I mean, come on, you have to physically go to the blog and read it. I mean, don't read it. A lot of things on Facebook, I'll tell you that right now. I don't read anything.
don't read the blog. I don't know what to tell you, but what I'm telling you is somebody sent that tape in and there's a mother grieving. And if you've ever lost a child, you don't stop grieving. And if you saw what, what's the girl that, Koga girl,
Final
what
thoughts.
the mother said, really, think about it. Unless you've been in their shoes, people need to be more empathetic and we're not.
Thank you, Mrs. Greco. Mr. Cooper?
I certainly agree with you, Prof. I'm not a judge, or jury, but from what I have read with regard to the court documents that are filed that are public information, what I have heard on the radio and in other media outlets, my decision to answer your question, sir, would be to remain on administrative leave until everything's.
Thank you for your answer. Mr. Habaika?
Being the president of the board, it was my obligation following the process. And the decision of the court that was issued today, dismissing Mr. Karam's state lawsuit, indicating that the board followed proper procedure. In terms of whether or not I would vote one way or the other, since I am on the board, I cannot make any comments about what I'm planning on doing. I have to be fair and follow the protocol and procedure.
Thank you, sir. Mr. POTUS?
Yeah, question for Mr. Markosha, and it goes to Ms. Curry as well.
Yes.
Forgive me, the rest of your panel, if I missed out on something, but I know you two spoke about parent involvement.
Right.
If you were on the board. Yeah. And that's a buzzword that's going around a lot, all over the place. So I just wondered, a two-part question. One, can you drill down a little bit more, both of you on that? And you have websites that you can offer so people can go on and check out more information.
So,
right.
Mr. Markosha, if you'd like to start, and then Mrs. Arcuri will finish.
Actually, when I used to be on the Our Lady Lord's Church Parish Council, there was a group of representatives in the church that communicated with the pastor. So it was a beautiful thing. It's a council. It's called a parish council. So likewise, in our public schools, we could develop a council or a committee of parents elected by the parents at a particular school. For instance, Proctor parents, the students of Proctor would elect parents to be on the committee. The parents committee would have ongoing communication. I don't even call it parental rights, I would call it parental involvement. So there's a two-way communication with the principal, the educators, the teachers. There'd be a communication process because parents need to be involved in what's going on in the schools. We are paying the salaries of the teachers, of the administrators. They work for us.
Final thoughts, Mr. Markosha.
All right.
Markosha, website, if you have a website.
Yes, I do. It's called johnmartosha.com. And
Can you spell the last name?
John, MARTOCCIA.com. That's my position on issues relative to the school board. John Martosha, MARTOCCIA.com.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Arcuri?
Okay, thank you, Steve. First of all, I've got a blog. It's very popular. Who are curious? Fuarcuri.com. It's SUEARCURI.com. You'll find the truth there. Also, when I speak of, excuse me,
Folks.
when I speak of parental rights, we as parents have that exclusive right to teach our children our moral values. We cannot entrust that to someone we don't know in a classroom that maybe have sexually degenerate ideas or are not conforming with my religious and philosophies. So I've campaigned now for a while, and that's a big thing with a lot of the parents, is they want control over what is being taught in the classroom. They want to know what curriculum is being taught there. They don't want this agenda that's being pushed down their throat. No, we don't care what your sexual preference would be. That's not my business to know that. But what it is that needs to be done in your home and away from our children. They're too young, let them be kids. Let
Thank
them
you.
Enjoy themselves.
Thank you,
and Not
Dr.
worry
Curry.
about adult issues.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do at this point is I'd like to afford the candidates closing statement.
I'd like to respond to that if you don't know.
Oh, Mr. Habaika, go ahead.
You know, when we talk about parental ownership, for example. They're called parent-teacher associations, PAs.
Yeah.
We have those in the schools already.
They're weak.
And
they're not accountable.
Let him answer, please.
We allowed to come and report to the school board during our school board meetings. They are actually a part of the agenda. So I just, again, it's very hard to address a lot of these. Again, I just call them suppositions. Because there are actually facts out there.
Enough time.
Actually are in existence. And I think the issue is ideology versus information. So again, if you believe information,
Final thoughts, please,
then
Mr.
please
Habaika.
vote for me. If you believe in ideology, then obviously, you'll have to vote for that.
30 seconds, Mr. Martosha, then we need to move
I
on.
need to be more serious parent about, I'll give you a case in example. You had Muslim students at Proctor during Ramadan. They have to fast. And they're in the same room where the children eat. Not only is it disrespectful to their faith, number one. Number two, it just would make them feel uncomfortable. Why, if there's parents involved, when the parents say, hey, my kid observing this religion. This is very important. Why are they being subjected to fasting in the same lunchroom while the kids are eating? What's going to talk about?
Thank you. You can respond in your final thoughts, okay? All right, everyone. So I'd like to move on to the candidate's final thoughts. And I would encourage you to provide information for the members of our audience to reach out to you if they have any additional questions. So, Mrs. Greco, would you like to go first, please?
Look, I just want our kids to be taken care of. I want them to have the materials they need. I want them to get the education they deserve, and I want our employees to be treated with respect. And it hasn't been happening. That's all I'm asking for. We have to be human beings. Let's be human beings and let's do the right thing. That's what I'm going to fight for. Everybody to be treated equally, and for our kids and our employees to be treated well.
Thank you. Mrs. Arcuri.
Again, I just want to reiterate that I think that the safety comes first for our children. We have to make sure that our schools are safe for them, because if they're not safe, then they can't learn. The second point is our children are number one, and parental rights is an exclusive right of the parent, that we teach our children what we believe ideologically, and we don't have, parent teacher association. We've got some in Albany School where they don't hold accountable for the money they bring in. I can't understand or trust that they will teach my children or have that interaction. What happens when you have conflicting ideology? I mean, I'm certain that I would have conflicting ideology. We're not going to work together as a team. So we need to leave the parents' rights to the parents. And then what they do in school has to reflect something of a moral value. Enough.
Thank you. Mr. Martosha.
I'm far from, as I live my life, I try to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. That's the purpose of my existence. So I'm hoping that I could be a force to work within the Utica Public School to make it a better institution. I think I'm an advocate of change. I work on behalf of the student, the parents, the taxpayers, to advocate change for a better Utica Public School. If you're happy with the status quo doesn't look very good. This gentleman mentioned how low we rank on the state level as far as aptitude. So I'm an advocate for change, doing things that are constructive. I have hope. I have hope that these institutions to become better places for our children. If we can put the children first and foremost. And I believe that the Utica Public School District could be an example that other districts follow. I have a lot of ideas. One of the ideas that I would like to implement is we have this exclusive group of athletes, football team, okay? They make the cut around the football team. Why can't we have a team of excellent students who perform so well that they're in a group with other students with the same capabilities? Form an elite team of students, okay? If we could do it with athletes, the football team, an exclusive club of athletes, why can't we form an elite team of students? We could do that at Proctor, and it would draw, I believe, students want to go to Proctor and be part of the sport elite. And I want to, it's very important to increase graduation rates at all levels, okay? Again, this is very important.
Final
How
thoughts,
kids
please.
fall through let me just finish real quick. Falling through the cracks, not because of that. Because of mental abuse, sexual abuse, addiction issues, family issues. Let's outreach to these kids to say, hey, talk to the parents, really, and outreach communications by the support staff of our schools. So these kids don't fall through the cracks. I know of situations where kids fell through the cracks. There's never no outreach from the public school towards the parents. That's gotta stop.
Thank you,
And I
Mr.
hate to bring
Bartos.
up private schools, but Notre Dame does outreach to the parents when these issues happen. We in the public schools don't do that,
Thank you, sir.
okay?
Mr. Cooper, and if I didn't mention, just to be clear, you'll be given 2 minutes, just so you're aware. Thank you.
Of course. So I hope tonight was beneficial for you, learning me, getting to know me, what I stand for, what I stand behind, who I advocate for and why. So at the end of the night, I hope you can take that back. I hope I've earned your vote, and when elected, I will stand for those teachers, students, our proud district that graduates students every single year back into our community where they contribute forward. My website is cooperforuticschools.com, and the Gmail email address is the same, cooperforuticschools@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hablita, go ahead.
First of all, our graduation rates are increasing. Second of all, and have increased every year. Second of all, if you watch the March regular meeting, you'll actually see a presentation that talks about the quality of our testing and our results. So it's in there, and actually that's significantly increased. We've hired more parental liaisons. We've hired parental advocates. We've improved accountability. We've done away with the no-show jobs. We are implementing processes to make sure that no dollar is spent without it being able to be traced. We have a $243 million budget that's actually being spent on the students and the staff. And it might be an unusual thing, so it's because it hasn't been really done in the past that way, but we are actually spending the money to improve everything in the district. If you believe that the district is going in the correct direction, then please vote for me. If you think that cutting out the no-show jobs, having lack of transparency and accountability is something that you're in favor of, then vote for somebody else. But we are doing a great job. We've improved the morale of the students, the administrators, and the teachers, most importantly, and we are seeing the results. Watch a meeting, you will see our students shine.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's so gratifying, just like the 5th graders at Kernan that put together a food pantry for their classmates, for people that needed it. They put it together.
Final thoughts, please.
Like I said, if you like the way the district is going, you like the direction, then please vote for me. If not, again, I'm not your cup of tea.
Thank you, Clerk. So I would just like to conclude by thanking everybody for being so patient and tolerant, and thank you for all of your questions. I also would like to extend some thanks to our press corps. Thank you all for being here, and we look forward to reading or hearing anything that you have to say on the matter. I'd also like to thank all of our candidates for being here and for trying to answer as many of your questions as possible. Please feel free, when the formal part of this meeting is concluded, to engage with some of the candidates. We will be here until 8:30, and then we need to lock up. So help yourself to the remaining refreshments, and thank you again for joining us.